And Sri Lanka may be the worst hit, but they're not alone. Most Asian countries are reeling from an energy crisis. India, Bangladesh, China, Pakistan, Japan, all of them are reporting energy shortages. But why now? Because of two very familiar reasons, the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. Let's talk about the first one. 2020 and 2021 were lockdown years in most parts of the world. Most Asian countries shut their economies to keep the virus out. Factories were closed, roads were empty, so energy demand fell considerably, by almost 3% in the first quarter of 2020. But this year, Asia is recovering. As economies reopen, they will need more energy to run factories, to power offices. Just one problem though, the supply has not been able to keep up as energy prices keep rising. And that's reason number one. Reason number two is the war in Ukraine. Russia is the third largest oil producer in the world, also the second largest crude exporter. If Russia is at war, supply will be affected. So now you know why energy prices are climbing. Next question, why is this so hard on Asia? Why is Asia being hit so hard? Well, this data should give you an idea. These are the largest net crude importers in the world. China is number 1, India is number 2, South Korea at number 3, the US is at number 4, and Japan is number 5. So 4 out of the top 5 are Asian economies. Why is that? A, because they have a higher population, and B, because their industrial needs are higher. Before the pandemic, this was not an issue. Asian countries could manage their energy payments. But now that's not the case. Coal prices are 5 times higher than 2021. Natural gas prices are 10 times higher. So Asia is paying more money for the same energy shipments. And even then, there's a big caveat. You see, many Asian economies rely heavily on LNG, liquefied natural gas, LNG. But most of the LNG is now being bought by Europe. They are not getting enough piped gas, so they're buying liquefied version instead. The result is this: Asian economies are not getting enough energy. India's LNG imports are down 14%, China's LNG imports are down 22%. This shortage has real-world impacts. Pakistan is reporting 12-hour-long power cuts. Chinese provinces are scaling back electricity use. Their gas-based power output is down 19%. India too has been affected. This is India's worst power crisis in 6 years. The average power cuts last between 2 to 8 hours. Even Japan is bracing for cuts. Their government is asking people to reduce consumption or face power cuts. And remember when this is happening: in the middle of an intense heat wave. In Japan, temperatures have broken 150-year-old records. Without power, it is impossible to survive this weather. So what do governments do? They can't get natural gas. Green energy is taking too long. So most countries are reverting to coal. India produces 75% of its power from coal, but coal inventories are at their lowest in 9 years. So what is India doing? Importing more coal. Australia is also asking power plants to increase their coal stock. China's coal output is up 11%. And in Europe, Germany, Austria and the Netherlands are restarting coal plants. Do you see the problem here? Countries are turning back the clock to tackle the power crisis. They're returning to coal. And this presents a long-term challenge. Coal is the most polluting fossil fuel in the world. It is the single largest contributor to climate change. If we keep using coal, we are accelerating climate change. We are burning through our small carbon budget. What does that mean? It means we could breach our climate targets. Global warming could exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius, and that is irreversible. You cannot redo climate action. Once temperatures breach that threshold, the changes are permanent. You cannot reverse them. So what's the solution here? How do you balance power requirements with climate action? For starters, end this pointless war. As long as the war drags on, energy prices will remain high, supply chains will be distressed, countries will have to drain their reserves to keep the lights on. Secondly, do not sacrifice on climate goals. Energy shortage cannot be an excuse to pollute. Europe should understand this. They're scooping up natural gas by paying higher prices than Asia. At the same time, they're restarting coal plants. And the worst part, when Asia buys discounted Russian energy, they give lectures. And finally, maybe it's time to rein in Big oil. This year, oil and gas companies are expected to make $834 billion in profits. $834 billion. Guess what they made last year? Just $493 billion. So energy profits are up more than 70%. But the common man continues to suffer with power cuts, with inflation, and with fuel costs. To solve this energy crunch, we need joint action. We need the oil cartels, we need the governments, and we need the oil executives to all work together. If not, this crisis could upend our economy and our planet. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.